I seek Allah's protection from the rejected shaitan. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. In all things I say, I am faithful to what Muhammad and his purified family have spoken, in that which they have made known and in that which they have concealed, in that which has reached me of them and in that which has not. Praised be Allah, the Lord of the worlds, and may Allah's blessings and peace be upon the Master of all creation, our Master Muhammad and his purified family. May Allah's damnations be upon their enemies until the hereafter. To discuss or approach the subject we are about to speak about is to many of those who are in this field, the field of preaching for the sake of the religion, is a disconcerting thing. It is an uncomfortable thing to bring up. And this idea, the idea of takfir, or to declare others as infidels, because in the last, say, generation, this idea has negative connotations in the minds of people. And we mean that if someone declared someone an infidel, even if the person who made such a declaration did not specify an individual, but spoke of certain conditions and declared that these conditions, if they were met by a certain individual, then that person is an infidel or an apostate. And I say, even if someone were to approach this subject in the manner we described, the person who speaks about this subject is called an extremist. He is called a radical that is not a moderate. You might have noticed this term is so widespread now. The expression of moderation, to be moderate. Perhaps this came to us from our opposers, and bit by bit it has become widespread in our midst as well. And in parentheses, I would also like to mention that there are mistakes and fallacies used by those who oppose our approach and to protect or promote theirs. For example, when they say, we have made you an intermediary nation, the statement is taken out of context to support the approach they have taken, the so-called approach of moderation. It's as if the point of this verse is what they claim, that when Allah said, we have made you into an intermediary nation, they claim that this intermediate expression in the verse means to become moderate. But in reality, this verse does not speak of this claimed moderation. It is not what they have claimed. The meaning of this verse, as has been narrated by Ahl al-Bayt, peace be upon them, and even by the interpretations of the opposers, is what is described in the same verse. At the end of the verse, it describes the term, the meaning and the point of the term. it says, we have median intermediary nation, so that you are witnesses upon the nations, and the messenger witness upon you. It means you are intermediate nation, as in you are in the middle. So between the time of the messenger's revelation and those who receive the teachings of the messenger while he is not amongst them, these people are in the middle. And you have witnessed the messenger of Allah, and the messenger of Allah is a witness upon you, because you are in the middle, as in intermediary to preaching for this faith. In our narrations, those who were the narrations describe who the intermediate individuals are. It says it is our Imams, peace be upon them. They are the Imams that are in the middle, the intermediate individuals, the middleman, so to speak. And opposers themselves also, as I recall, they describe that this term was referring to the so-called companions of the Messenger of Allah, blessings and peace be upon him. So if you pay attention to what the verse has described, or it was referring to based on narrations and evidence, it is not what the opposite party has claimed by that it means moderation. They say that that a person must not be a radical. And at any rate, we do not condone extremism to become a radical. This is something we accept. However, a person must not also neglect their duty, because if you are negligent or radical, it's both a mistake. If there is someone who has been rather extremist and has not limited himself to and who he declares as apostate or infidel, that is wrong. And if someone, on the other hand, decided not to declare anyone an infidel, not to denounce anyone, and to consider all Muslims and believers and safe sect, then this also is a person who is not adhering to the rules and the limitations set by the faith he follows. So while we condemn those who are referred to as takfiriyin, those who are declared infidels, everyone who is not one of them, and at the same time, we also condemn those who call themselves the moderate group, who accept everyone. They claim everyone Muslim, believer, and will be saved, even if they were fearing in the and you could say that they visibly went against the teachings of the religions, even if our things are considered considered or make a person an apostate, especially if they claimed that everyone who declares the two testimonies will be saved in the day of resurrection. And that is not true. If it was such, or if it was as they claim, we wouldn't have found so many narrations of the Messenger of Allah that the content of which said, my nation will be split into 73 sects, only one sect will be saved. All those other 72 sects or group, they all declare that Allah is one and Prophet Muhammad is his messenger. But they're not all saved, according to the Messenger of Allah. Only one is. At any rate, discussing this topic is uncomfortable for some people because according to what they claim, that it is not in line with moderation. That does not concern us. And anyhow, what has made things even more inconvenient is that why this topic is not discussed, because the matter of declaring someone an infidel has become an excuse to commit many crimes. For example, these terrorist groups, and you know that they are called Takfiri groups. Why? Because if they have not declared someone an infidel, they have no right to shed their blood. And since they are so concerned about this matter, which is to denounce others until they shed their blood, that caused people to look away from those who follow the Takfir manhaj, thinking that it is a reason for crime. We must not be those who are affected by this negativity or from people or their negative connotations. So we say that people should also not feel that way when we start this topic, and it's a shocking topic for many, and that we describe how the Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, approached this matter. People should not have a premeditated reaction to it. They must first understand what we mean. There is no doubt that Imam Hussein's approach to this topic, how he carried out takfir, is completely different to how the terrorist organizations and criminal groups have taken that approach. So, in general, speaking about this topic, even if it was a sensitive topic, even if it was an uncomfortable thing to talk about, and even if some groups and sides of our enemies, and that is known, it's their nature to distort our words, to take them out of context, and to deceive people. Despite that, we do not see that it is necessary. We must discuss and approach this topic, especially considering the conflict in ideologies and schools of thoughts in our day and time. Why are people so sensitive to this topic, and why do they react in such a manner, negative manner, when someone speaks about this topic, especially if it's his point of view according to his own research? You might have noticed that truly the religion of Allah is wronged, meaning that those that say do not declare anyone an infidel, you have no right to call any person a kafir. Those people, if you contemplate their words and and if you notice the point of their objection, it is to denounce those who have become scholars of this religion and reject their legitimacy to speak about such topics. So if principle, even if we were to arguably say that was a principle or an approach that is legitimate to denounce a scholar in his field, do we find that in other fields? For example, do we or would we see that is acceptable for people who are in the medical field, in a university, for example? Do they have the right to reject someone and denounce him or reject their claims as legitimate if there was a person who claimed he was a doctor and they found this so-called doctor was a fake one and he was not a true doctor, he lied and deceived others or scammed people. I remember in Kuwait, after 20 years, they discovered that there was a doctor who had a clinic. He treated so many people, and people, he had a good reputation. People came to him to be seen, make appointments with him because of his reputation. However, in time, they discovered that his certificate was forged and he was not a real doctor. So let's assume there is such an example, and the medical society that we could maybe refer to as the scholars of medicine, and they agreed that this person is claiming to be a doctor and his claim is false and that he must be rejected, denounced, especially if he claims that he was graduated from the university they belong to. Do these doctors or these scholars of medicine have the right to denounce a false doctor? No one would say, no, they have no right to do that. They wouldn't say, who are you? You hear this a lot. People say to you, who do you think you are? To say someone is a doctor and he's not a doctor. This is not the words you'll hear. Everyone will admit these people making this decision, they are the experts in the field. Even if they were wrong, because sometimes the schools of thoughts in medicine, there is conflict. Sometimes medical societies might reject each other's approach. Some might accept treatment or medicine, some might not agree to it. And in the medical circles, experts might be conflicted on certain topics. It happens. However, everyone gives the right to everyone else to speak freely based on their expertise about others' approach or thinking, as long as they claim to be of the same field. So this rejection of someone or denouncing of someone in this medical field, it is actually a takfir. Because what does takfir mean in our religion? It means the person who claims to be a follower of this religion is not truly a follower. The conditions that must be met by an individual to be called a Muslim or a believer, a person who will be saved, are not met. That is, in essence, what takfir means. But glory be to Allah, when this kind of talk. Talk comes from people who are the scholars of the religion, the experts of this religion. Straight away, weapons are pointed at them, and shots are fired. And they are told, who do you think you are to denounce others? However, if the exact same words came from experts in his field, architecture, medicine, or geology, astrology, anything, this expert is not called or told something like, who do you think you are to reject others' claims. This in reality is a crisis. This crisis we can describe as the crisis of being unjust to your faith. It means also that your religion is the last thing in your mind. The way you deal with this matter, because general and the average person do not really care who is the individual that's claiming to have legitimacy as a religious leader. And they follow just about anyone. And they are very comfortable that this person, who may be false, they are very fine with that. They don't seem to have a problem with it. But like we said, when in the medical field, this person who, after 20 years in Kuwait, people found out he was not a real doctor. It was a huge scandal. People were attacking the officials in the government, denouncing them, condemning them for what they've done, and the fact that they've allowed a person who was not a real doctor to treat people for so many years, and it's lives of people that were being affected. And no one would generally accept something like this. But when it comes to the religion, when someone claims to be a marja or a grand religious authority, and he isn't, falsified his certificate, people are okay with it. They don't seem to mind. Maybe some who are sincere and they have love for the religion of Allah, they might object, but they are a very small proportion of this nation. Also, of the aspects of why and how the religion is wronged by people, you would find that this person who needs advice by a doctor, you would find them do their research, especially if what they suffer from is a critical matter or dangerous health issue. This person would do his research and try to find out who the best doctor is, who's the most knowledgeable, and they will ask and try to find out the best and the one they're most confident with, because they don't want to put their lives in the hands of someone who is not at the top. They want someone at the top, the number one doctor, not the number two doctor. And this is the way it is usually in all fields of life. If you want to build something, you would find or try to find a very good architect to do it for you. If you want to buy a product, you want to investigate who are you buying it from. Is it trustworthy? Is the product good? Always you would find a reasonable person would investigate. But when it comes to religion, when they need a rule, majority of people, and I don't think I would be exaggerating if I said 95% of people, if not more, they would ask just about anyone who's wearing a turban. They would ask the question about the rule, they don't know, and then just say what his fault if he's wrong. Ask just about anyone, whatever is available, without that care that we described earlier when it comes to other fields. Who is this person I'm asking the question of? Who does he represent? What does he believe in? Does this person I'm asking, does he meet the conditions that make him capable of giving jurisprudence or jurisprudent rulings? If he was, then he's the scholar that I could follow. However, if he did not meet the conditions, he cannot give such rulings, and he must have been relaying the rulings of some other scholar. We have to investigate who is this person that this individual I'm asking the question of is relaying the rulings of. Is it someone who meets the conditions? We must be very careful and realize that the matter of our religion is more important than all sorts of other things in life. This religion is either your ticket to Jannah or your ticket to Jahannam, Allah forbid. So how and why would you place your religion in the hands of those who are not qualified? So with these examples, you realize that the crisis we suffer from is the fact that our religion is neglected. If someone were to be accused as to be a thief or found out to be a thief, you see that society would react to that individual with disrespect or hate. But when you see someone is declared as a thief of this religion, someone who stole from this religion and abused it for his own gains, you would not find people react in the same way. It's as if it's a natural thing, a normal thing for someone to do this. Only a few people would object. Only those who truly love the religion of Allah. The matter of takfir is, like we explained, if someone was in a gathering and he said, yes, we follow the approach of takfir and we have conditions for it. And then you look at our evidence we use and then judge. Why is this such a sensitive thing for people to listen to? And why do they find it a very uncomfortable thing? Is it not the right of Allah to reject, revoke someone's claim that he's a follower of his religion? So is it possible that for a doctor or a professor, an expert of the field, to revoke someone's claim to be a doctor, this right exists. This individual would say that this student that I had, he scammed you, tricked you, saying that he reached the highest levels and he's a great doctor is not true. I am his teacher and I know this person has not reached the levels he claims. People would not say to him that you have no right to say something like this. But we say that Allah has no right, and He has no right to decide who is on His religion and who is not follower His religion, even if that person just claims and pretends to be one. Some might say, we don't hear Allah directly. It's true, we do not hear Him denounce others, but He left to you things you could hear. Did He not leave His noble book here Listen to his holy book. Listen to who this book denounces. This is the first weighty thing. The second weighty thing is the purified progeny of the Messenger of Allah, peace be upon them. They also spoke about it. They also made statements, and we have so many narrations, and so on and so forth, that a proportion of spoke about takfir, denunciation. And one of the brightest examples, and they're all bright, of the pure progeny, peace be upon them, is our master, the martyr, Imam Hussain, peace be upon him. This great Imam is Allah's authority in this earth and his shadow on this earth. He is the official representative of this faith. And he talked about takfir. People did not hear. People did not want to listen, because the people who attend the pulpits, the lectures, even in the month of Muharram, the month of Safar, for them it's a very inconvenient subject. And they do not want to talk about the things Imam Hussain has said, because they do not want to be referred to as radicals and the people who follow a radical approach. And we say, Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, it is his right upon us that we reveal everything that he spoke about. Because what Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, spoke about is what defines the approach of Imam Hussain. The Hussaini lecturer's job and duty is to make people know who Imam Hussain are, and not hide certain aspects of him. These narrations of Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, the takfiri narrations, if we could call them, why do these Hussaini lecturers not talk about them? Because it is an uncomfortable thing for them to talk about. And that is why we decided to set out on this matter and to reveal these Hussaini narrations and so on and so forth, that we reveal them to people, and that we describe them, and to go into depth to a reasonable degree that makes people comprehend what takfir means, and the approach of Imam Hussain, peace be upon him.